Still hear an echo?
It's okay. Fine.
It's okay? Okay. Well, as I was thinking about my story here, I started thinking that everybody has a story to tell. And we've all traveled a long road to get here today. You think about it, every one of us have had obstacles to overcome. And so, when I think about my story, I start off thinking about my grandparents. My grandparents came here 90 years ago from Mexico. And they didn't speak any English at all. They got married and started to raise a family and started having kids back in 1928, the year before the stock market crashed. And they ended up having 7 kids. This is my dad's family. My dad's the tallest one there. My grandparents are the 2 people to the right of him. And they were 5 foot 2 inches tall. And trying to raise kids during the Great Depression, 7 kids during the Great Depression, and they didn't speak any English at all. It was probably one of the most difficult things I could ever imagine for them to do. And for my dad and my mom, growing up as kids during the Great Depression, I can't even imagine what kind of tough times that was for them as well. It was a pretty harsh environment for them because they had to go through quite a bit of prejudice. They had to go through a poverty situation, as you can imagine. I mean, many of you in this room have parents or grandparents who have gone through that Depression era. And the poverty, that went on during that time, the poverty mentality that came from that era was pretty difficult for a lot of people. I'm sure if you ask your parents or grandparents, they can relate to that. It's a pretty harsh time. But because of that, and because of some of the prejudice that went on at that time, my parents decided not to teach us any Spanish. You can go to the next slide. That's my brothers and sisters and myself right there. I'm the middle boy up there. And they decided not to teach us Spanish because they didn't want us to have the same kind of prejudice that they went through at that time. And when I look back on it, I think, man, I wish I was bilingual. I wish I had that extra language. It would have come in so handy for me, But they did what they thought was best for us at the time. And, because of the environment that they grew up in, it was a pretty dysfunctional situation, coming from a different country and growing up in that environment and everything. And when you talk about dysfunctional behavior, it's something that gets passed on from generation to generation, quite often. And so, as I grew up, I incorporated some of those dysfunctional behaviors. And as a young adult, I had to, at some point, decide to break that chain. Dale talks about programming. You have to decide that you're going to either keep those same behaviors or you're going to make that change. And that's one of the things that I had to do on a personal level. I had to do a lot of inner work, personal development, personal growth, and I did that for years in order to create a different life for myself. And especially as a young adult, I struggled quite a bit. I did not go to college. I had all kinds of jobs. Some of them were some of the worst jobs you could ever imagine. But I was always a pretty motivated and positive person. I don't know how I got it. I've had it all my life. And I've always felt like, I can do whatever I set my mind to do. And so, with that, I just continued to develop myself and grow. And I started to have some success in the computer industry. And it started to grow and build on that foundation and continue on. And for 25 years, I got to be pretty good in the computer industry, and I loved it. But about 6 years ago, I made a change. And when I made that change, I went into the insurance industry. I started doing Medicare Advantage insurance and retirement planning, and was having a pretty successful career there as well. And then 19 months ago, my friend Dean House came to me and he says, I got the perfect company for you. And I said, okay, what's the product? And he said, groceries. And that made a lot of sense to me, as you can see. Groceries makes a lot of sense. The industry growing to 85 billion projected. That made a tremendous amount of sense. And the fact that there was no auto ship on the front end of this program. As soon as I heard that, I said, okay, I'm in. And I sent out 75 emails to typical people, because I had been in network marketing for 10 years before that, but I had never had any major success in any of those other programs. I've been in like over a dozen, and I've never had any major success with any of them. So I sent out those 75 emails. In those 75 were 4 people who were leaders in other network marketing companies. And in the past, when I had sent them those types of emails, they never responded, never came back to me with anything. But this time, all 4 of them called me up, asked me a few questions, and they all signed up. And it kind of surprised me. But I was very excited. I cycled twice in my first 2 weeks before I even told my family. And then a lot of my family ended up jumping in. And in my first 30 days, I ended up cycling 5 times. And this is before, you have to understand, we barely had a replicated website. We had no business cards, we had no flyers. Anything that we used, we made up ourselves. And I was not very good at marketing. I was just whatever I could put together. But I always had those 3 things in there. Product is groceries, industry is going to grow to 85 billion, and no auto ship on the front end of the program. And I just worked the program very hard for several months. And then something happened in March 2011 that was remarkable to me. And that was the first time that I had met Dale Calvert. And in 12 years, or whatever number of years I was in network marketing, I'd never met anybody like Dale Calvert. And I can honestly say that from the time I met Dale and meeting him in Nashville, and Birmingham, and Fort Lauderdale, and Atlanta, and Houston, every single time I've gotten something that has just touched me and made me a better person and inspired me to keep on moving. You guys have all seen, him talk about the mindsets and the skill sets. Well, if I was to say the first part of these, I'm going to ask for your participation here for just a second. Because I want you to understand how important what he has given us all means to me, okay? So if I say, until you know the why, how doesn't matter, exactly. Repetition is the mother of learning. Exactly. The less you say, the more you make. Amateurs try to convince. Exactly. Recruiting is a process, not an event. You can lead 1,000 people, but you can't carry 3 on your back. Exactly. Set yourself on fire, and people will come to watch you burn. Right. Success leaves clues. When you're green, you grow. Right. There is no magic. Foo-foo dust. There is no magic pill. There is no foo-foo dust. Exactly. If It's all a numbers game. Get the emotions out of it. These are the types of things that I have learned, from Dale. And, I've been around a lot of trainers. But in the last year, I've learned more from Dale than I have from all the other trainers combined. I've never had anything that has just incorporated so much into me. You know why? Because Dale makes it easy. He's put it into a framework that is easy to program ourselves with these types of things. These are sayings that I will never, ever forget for the rest of my life. And I will remember them in any business I ever do for the rest of my life. As I know many of you will as well. Okay? The Gateway to Diamond program. I made a statement in August at the Atlanta Convention. And I said that right now, the people that are currently in the Gateway to Diamond program only make up 1% of what I believe of those who will be eventually in the Gateway to Diamond program.
Woo!
Yeah. Dale's webinars on Sunday nights, his teachings on the Gateway, his conferences that we have here. Folks, to me, just to have somebody with his passion, his skill, his teaching ability, it's beyond belief that I'm lucky enough and honored enough to be part of this company and to have him as our national trainer. I'm telling you, I just can't tell you how important it is, for me at least. Let's go to the next slide, is getting started right. These are some of the things that I've learned from Dale as well. And these are some of the things that I teach my group when I talk to people. I start a new prospect, I have them write down their why. It's the first thing. In fact, one of the things that you might want to think about is that when you start a new prospect, have them write down their whys, their 3 whys, their 20 whys. Have them do it within the first 24 to 48 hours. Because you'll know something about that person very quickly. If they're really one of the 50% that will peak on the day they join, or are they really going to do something? If they don't come back to you with their list of whys in the first 24 to 48 hours, guess what, folks? You know what the chances of them moving forward with anything else? Not that much. So, have them write down their why and their time commitment right away. Dale has some great quick start videos on his website. And these are fantastic. I have every person I sign up go and watch all of those videos right out of the gate. And again, if they can't get through that, there's just not much of a chance for them to succeed past that. Okay? The game plan to momentum. Well, I'll tell you what, when I first heard about that, it was the best prospecting tool I have ever seen. For new people, once they get past the first 3 points here, and they start on the game plan to momentum, if you can get somebody to go out and get their 50 in the first 30 days, you got something here. You really do. You've got a good person who's got a chance to really be successful here. And the last item there is stay plugged in. I have a couple of calls a week. Dale has the Sunday night webinars. We have the corporate calls on Tuesday and Thursday. You can really tell. People ask me all the time, well, how do I become successful? I hear this question probably more than anything. I'm trying this, I'm trying this, I'm trying this. And almost the first question I always ask them is, are you plugged in? Because if you're plugged in, it raises your belief. It keeps you inspired, keeps you motivated. It keeps you on track to do the right things that Dale teaches. So I always have people get plugged in. This is something that David talked about yesterday. David Bradford talked about yesterday. And this is something I just recently received from the Secret Daily Teachings. Give every person more in use value than you take from them in cash value. Now, to me, what that means is you want to make a difference in people's lives, right? This isn't just about signing up a prospect so that you can get a commission on them. This is about helping people. I always say that MPB today has always been to me, first and foremost, making people better. And I really believe that. I believe that we are going to change people's lives with this company. We have an opportunity to make this one of the greatest companies ever. But in the process of doing so, we are going to help people and their families and their children and their grandchildren, and this is generational. You can make a difference in people's lives every day that you work with people in this company. Dale talks about this a lot. You are responsible for your own success. Seize the day. Take the steps. Take the action today. Do what you need to do to get your 50 pin. To get those new prospects that you want. You want to achieve your goals. You want to go from a silver to a ruby, or a ruby to a gold. Do what you need to do on a daily basis. This is from a German philosopher who said, all truth passes through 3 stages. First is ridicule. Second, it is violently opposed. And third is accepted as being self-evident. Now, this is an industry that is expected to grow from 1 billion to 85 billion. And quite often, we go out and talk to people, and they're skeptical, and they have, that sometimes they'll be in the ridicule phase of this and everything. But I believe that at some point, we are going to get into a point where we're going to hit something called the tipping point. Go to the next slide, please. The tipping point is that magic moment when an idea, trend, or social behavior crosses a threshold, tips, and spreads like wildfire. And I believe this is going to happen with our company. Because as the industry gets more conscious about, or people become more conscious about the grocery delivery industry, and as we continue to grow our iHubs across the country, there's going to be a point when all of a sudden something's going to change. And I don't know when that point is. It could be when we have 25 hubs, 50 hubs, 75 hubs, 100 hubs, sometime. And when that happens, that shift is going to be really interesting. Because all of a sudden you're going to notice that people are responding to you differently. It's just this level of consciousness that's going to come up, and they're going to go, you know what? That does make sense. And when that happens, then those people are going to absolutely be attracted to this company and this industry. And for about a year now, I've been talking about that you're all standing on Mount Everest. Each and every one of us are standing on Mount Everest. We can't always see it, especially when we're talking about a new industry that we're in right now. But a lot of times, all you can see is just like 1 inch below your feet. You're on a pretty big mountain right here. But as we go along, you'll find yourself in a year or two, and the mountain will start to appear. And as you keep going, 3 to 4 years down the road, it's a mid-sized mountain. And eventually, it becomes a full-blown mountain. But as I said yesterday, it does no good to just to stand in front of a giant mountain and just look up at it and say, wow, I wish I was on the top. You absolutely have to, like Dale says, you have to decide, make a decision, and go forward. Okay? Now here's something else that I talk about a lot, is not tripping over pebbles. Because it's real easy to get distracted. You have to be focused on what your goals are. You have to be focused on what you need to do on a daily basis. Dale says, let me see if I can find it here. Dale says, don't worry about the things you can't control. Focus daily on the things that you can. But it's so funny how easy it is for each one of us. And I'm just like Dale says, I'm just as guilty as others. I can get unfocused very easily. I have to bring myself back and say, you know what? I'm going to get back to where I need to be. And just focus on what I need to do every single day. Okay, next slide. This, to me, is so important. To have my why list out there. How many people again have their whys with them today? That's phenomenal. That's phenomenal. The why is just something that is so important to write down your why. Another thing I remember from Dale from the very beginning is don't skip first and second base and expect to hit a home run. You got to do the why first. It's just incredibly important. During Christmas time, I was with my family, and I was able to, we were playing a game where we were writing down questions, and they were like real life questions about certain circumstances. And then somebody would pick it out of the hat, and they would answer what they would do in that circumstance or whatever. And one of our good family friends, her name was Carol, picked out a question. And the question was, if you could change anything in your life, what would it be? Now, Carol had just gone through cancer. And she had her ex-husband, who she was good friends with, who recently passed. And she had a lot of financial bankruptcy type of issues that she'd been dealing with for the last year. And her answer was, I wouldn't change a thing. Because all the circumstances in my life that I've had to go through have made me the person that I am today. And I believe that. I believe that each one of us, those circumstances, were there for us for a reason and a purpose. And it's not to say that we can't have great goals and great, but for me, it's important that I accept, who I am and love myself for who I am. Okay? This is a saying by Helen Keller: life is either a daring adventure or nothing. Every single person here in this room has a story to tell. We've all had to overcome tremendous circumstances. We've all traveled a certain road to get here. But it's no accident that you are here today. It's no accident that the road that you have traveled has led you to this place at this time. That road has made it so that we have had to overcome our fears. We've had to forgive those that have harmed us in the past. We've had to grow when we needed to grow and develop. And even though each one of us have had a different background in order to get here, it's absolutely perfect that we are here. MPB today has dug the trenches, laid the foundation, and do you know who the real foundation for this company is? You folks right here. You who are here today, you're the foundation And when this company grows and makes history, as Dale says, you are the folks that are going to make that happen. And that's a tremendous thing for me. We are going to do something here that has never been done before. When I first heard Dale say that in Fort Lauderdale, man, it hit me like a ton of bricks. Because I truly believe that MPB today will be one of the greatest companies in network marketing history.
That's it.
And it's not to say that we won't have competition. We will. There will be competition out there that will come out of the woodwork. But be careful of the hype, okay? Not only from the competition in this industry, but all network marketing companies. You'll have people that'll call you up and they'll tell you, oh, brand new company, and they've got all this stuff going on and everything like that, and they'll perjure themselves. They'll tell you so much hype. And you've got to be careful. Because we've gone through so much work to make this. See, a lot of people are looking for the get-rich-quick companies, right? You know what this is? This is the get-rich-the-right-way company.
Yeah.
From day one, Dale Calvert has always under-promised and over-delivered. And when I mean that, he says, this is not about getting rich in 1 year or 2 years. This is a 3 to 5 year game plan, folks. This is like going to college. You don't go to college for 1 year and expect to come out with a PhD. But in network marketing, quite often, that's what people want. They want to go in, get at the top of a brand new company, and 3 months later, they're rich. Okay? This is not about that. This is about building upon the foundation in order to make this a successful company to the core. And a great company. I did a 10-year projection a little while back, and I'll tell you what. Within a few short years, we have an opportunity to make this a $1 billion company. That's big, folks. That's big. There's not that many $1 billion companies in network marketing today. When I look at the people here in MPB today and the vision that we have, there is no other place that I'd rather be than with you folks. Every day I give thanks for being alive. Every single day. I mean, I've had some circumstances in my life that at times look pretty bleak. And I've overcome many of them from a number of different ways. But I'm so grateful that I'm able to have what I have and to be a part of this MPB family. One thing I want you all to know is that we can do this together. You don't have to do it alone. There's so many people here that are willing to help, from the corporate office to Dale Calvert to your upline leaders to your upline diamonds. There's a lot of people here that are willing to help you. And we can do this together. I wish each and every one of you the greatest success in life and in MPB today. And most importantly, have fun and enjoy the adventure. See you at the top.